Let's see. All right. Are we live yet? This is what I'm trying to find out. Here we go. Here we go. We are live. Yay, we're here. All right, everybody, welcome to Training Tuesday. I'm just getting myself together because as I tried to prepare you guys, we're doing things a little bit differently tonight. So we are on the Zoom call with the lovely Rivka Schreiber, our certified financial planner. We're going to be talking about money tonight. And I'm just trying to make sure that the Zoom and the live and everything is working. So as usual tonight, love it when you guys participate and ask questions. And I'll remind you of this again in a moment. Because the setup's a little different than usual, there may be some delays in when I see your comments or see your questions. So be patient with us. And if we don't get to anything you ask tonight during the live, we'll definitely try to get to it later. So we're going to start tonight. The topic is money and finances. And if there's one thing that I've learned through talking with you guys and polling and frankly, my own experience in my own life, it is that money can be a very intimidating topic for us women. We tend to approach it with a lot of caution and a little bit of fear. And we do the things that we think we're supposed to do, that somebody told us to do, that was somebody's sage advice. And then we often just kind of bury our head in the sand and cross our fingers and go, okay, hope this works. Which is maybe not our best strategy, but it's a pretty common one. I think no other topic, literally no other topic, and if you would like to challenge me on this, I am all for it, but I don't think any other topic carries as much guilt or shame or anxiety or stress as money. I think we would all rather talk about sex, drugs, politics, and religion than this. It is for me. And yet we're here. And we are here because part of owning our future, right? Part of stepping up as leaders, which is what we do talk about, right? We talk about stepping up with confidence and owning our careers, and we talk about leadership skills and quick tips and strategies for building your confidence and things like that. Well, we don't own our career path and we don't own all of this future vision, right? This vision of what we want to have, unless we also own our finances, unless we really own the money part as well. So one of the things we'll get more into a little bit later, maybe not as much tonight, but a little bit later for sure, is that money is a lot like our jobs. It's a lot like our partners, meaning it is all about relationship. Our relationship with money is complicated, right? It's just like with our jobs, just like with our partners, past and present. It's layered with old patterns, old thoughts, limiting beliefs, things that we were raised with, things we were taught, and things we just assumed as we moved forward with money management in our lives. And so part of having Rivka here, part of my personal conversations with her, as well as the conversations we're going to have in this group, is really about remembering that money is an incredibly important tool as we're looking to build this future that we imagine for ourselves. It's an important tool for helping us feel stable and secure in the life that we're creating, for helping us achieve the goals we want to achieve, for helping us have fun and live that life that you envision that we talk about, which is not just your career, but it's all of it. Money is an incredibly important tool for making that happen. So a little bit of mindset involved, right? What's our mindset relationship with money, as well as what's your practical skill and knowledge around money? And so this is an area we want to cover both of these as we start working with you guys on this, because you need to own both. You need to own both your mindset and the education and the practical skills to move forward. So we're going to get started with that mission. We're going to do a little myth busting. We're going to talk about women and money. First, a shout out to Joyce, because I see your comment, Joyce. So hello, it's good to see you tonight. And I'm glad you've joined us. For those of you joining us for the first time, if you don't know me, my name is Natalie Hahn. I am CEO of Dirty Girls Consulting, and you are here at Training Tuesday in our group, Accelerating Leadership for Professional Women, where we focus on leadership skills, confidence building, how you navigate your career, and how you become CEO of your life. And I'm going to let the lovely Rivka Schreiber, certified financial planner, introduce herself for a moment as well. And then we're going to get right into this. So Rivka, all yours.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Rivka Schreiber, and I'm the founder of Flexible Finances. I have been a certified financial planner since 2009. And I'm based in Silver Spring, Maryland, and the mother of 3 lovely and challenging boys. And I'm really excited to be here tonight. I've got some wonderful tidbits that I'd love to share with you about, myths that I'd love to bust for you about money and help you understand why it's been such a rewarding experience for me to work with women. Since then, I've worked almost exclusively with women because I've found that they are extremely good at managing their own money, and we are able to work in a collaborative way. And they make tremendous progress once they learn a few skills. And so I'm really excited to be here and to help you down that path however I can.
Awesome. Thank you, Rivka. So we promised you that we would bust 5 myths tonight. So we're going to start with myth number 1. Oh, hey, Jill. It's good to see you. Sorry, I interrupt that way sometimes, Rivka. So we're going to start with myth number 1. So myth number one is actually, I literally said this today. I said, I was looking with a colleague at a spreadsheet and I said, I am so bad at math. I'm so bad at math. I'm actually not terrible at math. If we actually got down to testing my math skills, they're probably not terrible, but I have carried with me for a long time this idea that I'm bad at math. And the assumption I tie to that is if I'm bad at math, I'm bad with money because money is numbers and math. So my question is the myth that if I'm not good with numbers, I can't be good with my money. Rivka, how real is that?
That is not real at all. We don't need to be good at math. That's why we have calculators. We've got lots of calculators, all different kinds. Being good with money really has more to do with being honest with yourself about what you need and how you see your future. Being good with money means being able to think through a plan and then stick to the plan. That's been tested over and over, between men and women, that the person who can stick long-term to a plan is the person who will be more financially successful. So math has nothing to do with it. It's really about being honest with yourself about what you want and what you need, thinking through a plan, creating that plan to get there, and then sticking it out.
Awesome. And that's so good to know. So ladies, I want to invite you also, if there is a myth, an assumption in your mind around money that isn't up in the 5 that we're going to talk about, feel free to drop it in the comments and let's see if we can challenge Rivka with answering it. But I would love to hear kind of what your own personal money myths are, and make sure that if we don't answer it in this one, that we answer it in some future session with you. So Hema, good to see you. And I'm glad you could make it tonight. So myth number 1, okay, we don't have to be good at math. We actually have to stick to a plan. Number 2. So how many of you have heard this one? I'd be curious, and you can just drop a Y in the comments. So yes, if this is something that you've heard, but I've actually heard this one, which is women are not good financial managers. The overriding belief being that there's some mystique with money. Maybe it's the math equation, maybe it's something else, but that we are just not naturally inclined or good at handling money. So how do you answer that one, Rivka?
So in my experience, that is not the case. I think the difference is that in the past, women have had less access to real life financial experience. Men in the past have been more inclined to share information with each other. If they picked a stock that made them a lot of money, they're going to tell everyone about it. There is, the cocktail party talk about, what real estate they bought, or even if it's tiny, they never say how much real estate they bought, just where they bought it. And the same thing with stocks. So men like to brag, not all of them, of course, but like to share what they've done financially, and women just tend to be more private about it, and they may be more concerned that they've done something wrong, whereas more like the men are who are convinced they've done something right. And so that's where this myth may be coming from, that, women are less inclined to do this or less analytical. Again, has nothing to do with being analytical or not. Women are far more willing to start out on this plan, head down it, and then when things change, the circumstances change, their income changes, whatever it is whatever their goal is changes, they change with it. Women are so much more adaptable. And because they're adaptable, they're able to get back on track, reevaluate things on the fly. They almost anticipate change. I think most women expect that their income is going to be disrupted in some way over the course of their career, but men don't. They think they're always going to be making more money. So it's okay. They can spend whatever they have. They can run up debts because they're going to be making more money in the future. But women don't assume that. And we find that if you go in with a flexible attitude, you're able to take advantage of opportunities that come your way and correct course much faster, which saves you a lot of money.
That's good to know. All right. Let's see. Myth number three. So I was told this. And so all of you in the community know I just bought my house about 6 months ago. And I was told in dealing with my mortgage lender and everything that, some of the formulas they use, that my mortgage should not be more than 30% of my income. And so what I found in that process is there were an awful lot of kind of rule of thumb ratios and formulas that they were using, which I think puts a little fear in us that if we don't meet the ratio, we're not going to qualify. So then we don't move forward, whether it's for a mortgage or any other kind of loan or financial situation. So how big or not maybe is that myth about these rule of thumb financial ratios we should pay attention to?
Sure. Well, for this one, it depends. So the rule of thumb for being able to qualify for a loan, that might be based on actually the lender's requirement. So that's actually just, what they require of you to trust you to give you a loan. But lots of rules of thumb that we see out there online or just that we hear from people are based on assumptions, not information. So people will say, you shouldn't spend more than 30% on your housing, for example. But if you're someone who's willing to actually look at your expenses and your income and what you can afford, that rule of thumb doesn't apply to you because you actually have information. And quite often people will spend way more than 30% of their income on housing. Quite often it's 50 or even 60% of their income on housing. But as long as they're paying attention and they're watching their other expenses, they may be able to afford it just fine. It just takes a little more care and a closer watch.
All right. Okay, this one I definitely hear a lot from women in this group. So I think this one is a hot topic, which is the myth is that I'm too late. I'm too late to save up for retirement. I'm too late to make enough money to be comfortable. I'm just too late. So if I'm over 50 and I'm, and this happens for a lot of reasons, right? Women, like you said, and I was so glad you said this, we have more disruptions in our careers, right? We step away from our careers because we have children. We step away from our careers because our spouses ask us to. We step away from our careers because there's elder care involved. So there's all kinds of things that disrupt what, to your point, what men look at as that just straight vertical climb. Which means by the time we are ready to sit down and focus on, okay, my kids are grown, my parents are healthy, I've got a good 10 years here of doing stuff just for me. But the feeling is then, but now I'm too late. Now I'm too late to really save for a healthy retirement and to really spend money on the things I want to do because I have to look 20 years ahead. And so how do you address that one?
So here I just wanted to share a little story first. When I first started out in this business about 17 years ago, I was just reading some studies about what people were worried about financially because I try to relieve that kind of pain. And I came across a study of Gen Xers who are really just starting their careers. And what was their number 2 financial concern was retirement. They're in their 20s and they're worried about their retirement. So this question of, am I too late? Do I have enough time? will I get there? And really that question of, will I be okay? Is a question that affects everyone. Now, as get old, if you get to that age 50 mark and you haven't really focused on any savings, you are not too late. What you have gained, what you have built, what you have invested in up until that point is experience in managing your money and experience in managing your lifestyle and really knowing in your heart what you need and what you don't need. When I work with people who are just looking at their finances, in an organized way for the first time, later in their careers, there's that moment of, how do I start now?
Mhm.
But once we start working together, it's clear that they actually have ideas and expectations. And there are thoughts that they've been rolling around in their heads for years. Oh, I might do this. I might do that. I think I might, I could see myself moving here or being in a smaller place. Or, there's these thoughts and visions that they have as they're testing out different ideas on themselves. So quite often, even when people don't have a lot of savings in the bank, they have very clear ideas. And when it comes to financial planning, those ideas or goals are extremely valuable, especially being able to start out with them and to save yourself some time trying to figuring them out. Because I can put together a spreadsheet. I could come up with, hey, why don't you try this? But the truth is, they're usually like 75% sold on a certain idea they think is going to work anyway. So we start there. I start with, what do you think is going to work for you? What are you hoping is going to work out for you? And I get very realistic, grounded, achievable things. So I would say it's totally okay if you're starting in terms of accumulating at 50. There are certain programs like Social Security. Yes, it will be around. That will help you as well. And we can always look at, workplace programs, savings programs that are available to you. But really, trusting what you think you need and how you think you'll be happy is the first step. So we start there. What is the idea you've been thinking of? Where is your confidence in what would work for you long term? And then we figure out how to get you to that point. So even if you don't have a lot of savings, if you've got a clear goal, that is an excellent place to start.
Fantastic. All right, last myth. So ladies, we told you we were busting 5 myths tonight. So I'm just going to go back and recap. Myth 1 was, I'm bad at math, therefore I'm bad at money. So the answer was no. If you can plan and stick to a plan, you can be very good with your money. So yay. Myth 2, women aren't as good at managing money as men. That's just, we know that's wrong. Like logically, we know that's wrong, but we still think that anyway. So Rivka kindly killed that one for us. Myth 3 was the rule of thumb, right? All of the various ratios and rules of thumb we hear about, so that keeps us from applying for things or going after things. Which I think you said was a little bit of a mixed bag, right? There's some places where those ratios are very real, so we have to kind of pay attention, but we also have to look at, I love the distinction between the assumption and the information. We look at our own information and make choices according to that. So myth number 4 was, if I'm over 50, it's too late. The answer was no. And myth number 5, Rivka, financial managers are only for rich people, right?
It's so not true. I remember so many people who are like, where were you 30 years ago? I really could have used you then. So they are not only for rich people. Now, I will be perfectly honest. Financial planning at the very beginning of its career was meant to sell a lot of products. And people did that. And people got the impression that financial planners are just there to sell you insurance or investments or things like that. But now it's a lot more holistic and it's a lot more educational. And what I absolutely love is the fiduciary standard that's been taken on by the Certified Financial Planning Board standards. Whenever you're going to work with anyone, make sure they're a fiduciary. And that means they are legally obligated to put your needs ahead of theirs, ahead of their compensation. And if you ask someone, what I do is I ask off the bat, are you a fiduciary? And I watch their face. If they look nervous, then that's not the right person for me. If they go, of course I'm a fiduciary, that's what I'm here to do, then that's the right person for me. And this, comes with any, this would also be, a doctor wouldn't actually apply, but anyone in your financial world who you're working with, the key is to make sure that they are putting your needs first. However, they get compensated, whether it's directly by you or they charge you a percentage of what you have, that's all fair as long as they're fiduciaries and as long as they're absolutely crystal clear about what you can expect to pay.
So
But there
I
are
love
great.
that you, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, please.
I was gonna say, well, I actually love that you just defined that because I never knew that was a thing.
Mhm.
I had
And
no
it's
idea
and
that
it's a
was a
big
thing.
thing. It's a
So,
big deal because fiduciaries, it becomes legally binding. And as a certified financial planner, every 2 years, I'm retaking the ethics curriculum, and that fiduciary standard is inching closer and closer to your initial contact with that person so that you establish the relationship as a fiduciary. I mean, and I got into this business because I wanted to relieve pain and I didn't have the stomach to be a doctor, and money really stresses people out. So, and it's been a
so actually,
wonderful thing for me.
no, that's awesome. And it just makes so much sense. So Sue, hey Sue, it's good to see you. Sue asked a question, which is there a way to confirm that somebody is a fiduciary?
Well, so depending on who you're working with, there are certain disclosures, certain paperwork that they need to provide to you that will state if they're a fiduciary or not. And they should be able to answer you yes or no off the bat. Generally, people who are considered like cashiers or people who are gonna, once you know what you want already, they just do the transaction for you. Those people are generally not fiduciaries because they're not giving you advice. They're not pointing you in one direction or another. But they will be able to tell you off the bat, and they will be required to provide you a disclosure saying whether they are or not.
Okay. Is there a way, I guess, to check before you're in an engaged relationship with them? Yeah.
For sure. Their certifications. So for example, I'm a certified financial planner. The Certified Financial Planning Board of Standards makes it very clear about the fiduciary duty. And when you research them online, you'll also be able to see sort of by those certifications, they come with that as well. So yeah, so I'm being a CFP, that's the one I'm the most familiar with, but that should be like one of the first things that you see.
Awesome. That's a great tip. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to mention and ask you about a little bit too is a topic that's actually really close to my heart just as a coach, which is that a lot of our money patterns, I said this earlier on, right, are really rooted in some of our behavioral patterns of the mindset and the assumptions around how we were taught about money. And I'm curious, in your experience, where maybe you see the most common patterns or what you see come up around this idea of our attitude about money and our relationship to it. Because one of the things I think about for myself is I wasn't taught money management skills. I was taught to balance a checkbook, but I've learned that is not money management skills. That was simple math, and I can do that, right? So when you're interacting with clients and you're running up against maybe some of the mindset issues, talk a little bit about that.
It's a great question. We all learn about money one way or another. And we develop attitudes about money as early as 5 years old. This is why the Department of the Treasury has curriculum for kids as young as kindergarten, because after doing studies, they learned that even before any kids could do any math, that they had clear attitudes about money, which is what we just pick up from the environment that we're in as children. And we as adults understand people use all kinds of approaches and attitudes, about their money. We're all trying to accomplish the same thing. We're all just trying to hold on to it. And some people try to hold on to it by spending it, turning it into stuff that can't be taken to them, using it to, change their bodies in some way because that can't be taken from them, or put in the bank thinking that it's safe there, or buried in the backyard in a coffee can because then no one will find it except them. Everyone's just trying to hold on to it. And we pick up these attitudes very young. And now when it comes to learning how to manage money, something I'd love everyone to take away is that no one just knows how to manage money. Managing money is like driving a car. No one just automatically knows how to do it. Someone needs to teach you. Now, whoever taught you may have taught you well, or maybe has taught you not so well, or passed on certain habits that aren't helpful to you today. But you learned from somebody, which means you can always adjust, improve, relearn that skill that you learned and then reinforced over time. But no one should feel like, everyone knows this but me, or this is something I should just know. There's no shame. This is a skill that gets taught. And either you learned it young or you didn't, but then you can always start now.
Awesome. So, and I think that's the big piece. We feel a lot of embarrassment around what we don't know about money. And especially when you get to my age, like I said, in the fiduciary thing, I knew what that meant in terms of real estate because I used to be a real estate agent, right? So I had a fiduciary responsibility either to the buyer or the seller, and I had to sign a disclosure to that. But when you started talking about in terms of like, it didn't occur to me. Oh, I should be asking people about that when it comes to my money. So what are one or two other tips you can leave us with in terms of getting started on this path of trying to just wrap my head around where I am with my money and what I should be doing and what I should be looking at?
Great. Well, I've got a few suggestions. The first is to learn as much as you can. The internet has become a treasure trove of information. And there's some good stuff and some bad stuff out there. I mean, to compare, when I was first starting in the field, their financial education page on a banking website was like a scanned PDF about like money market account rates or something. There was nothing there. Now there's actually almost too much financial information out there. I'm going to say this. Don't go to TikTok. Don't get your financial advice from TikTok. It's never right.
Fine.
But go to reputable sources, investor.gov, or the Department of the Treasury, or even lots of times your bank. Your bank could be a wonderful source of information, and they are regulated by the federal government, which is always a good thing. So first, learn as much as you can. Again, just openly, without shame, without judging yourself. You know what you know, and you are going to absolutely put it to the best use possible. So first is to learn. Ask questions. If there's someone in your world who you think's really got it together this way, ask them where they started, or if they can recommend some books or some websites, or a blog that they love to read. People love sharing what they've learned and where they learned it. And the second thing I wanted to offer was to go to your benefits plan at work, if you have one, and really look through it. There are tremendous opportunities for saving, for investing, for debt management through your benefits plan at work. And a lot of these things are already available to people. They're available to you now. So there might be opportunities right in front of you today you already have access to that can help you along your path. And really, this approach, improving your finances, sort of organizing your thoughts, is something that's only going to help you. Something that I like to do, I do this for myself and for my clients, is that I sort of organize all my financial information into 3 buckets. So there's a lot of information. So the 3-bucket approach really helps me. The first one is the debt management piece. And that addresses decisions I've made in the past. Now, these decisions certainly affect me today. I have to make payments on all of these things. But this is the decisions I've made in the past. The second one is my monthly spending. And those are all the decisions I'm making today. And the third bucket are any sort of savings and investing accounts. And those are the decisions I'm creating for myself in the future. So if you take the 3-bucket approach, you kind of cover the full timeline, sort of all the financial decisions that are in your world. And it also helps to organize things more cleanly. So there's the decisions you've made that are kind of now are just playing out, the decisions you make day to day, and then the savings that you're doing so you'll be able to make decisions in the future.
Awesome. That simplifies it a little bit, right, in our minds when it becomes overwhelming. So Hema has a question of what blogs do you like? So do you have certain blogs that you would recommend for a little bit of research and info?
There is one that I really like. I find that, okay, so I really enjoy CNBC. And that's a business website, but they have a section called Making It Work. And that's like the personal side of things, how this person did this and how this person was affected by that. And, it's how that the 30-year-olds who sell their multi-bajillion-dollar software companies don't really interest me, but it's like, this is how this person lives in this country on like $30,000 a year. And, it's a very human side to seeing how people are using their money to enjoy themselves. And it might open you up to an idea or, a possibility that you never considered for yourself, that you look at that and you think, I think I'd have a lot of fun doing that. Maybe I'll move to Portugal and live on the beach and be a digital part-time nomad. It's fun to see how people are making it work. So CNBC is one that I really enjoy. What else? Well, I always have my tiny house videos, but that's just me. But I'd say start there.
I put that in the chat for you guys too. So
yeah, I would say start there. It's a good one. And there's a lot of stuff that it can throw at you. But if you find the sort of the personal finance side of websites and newspapers. So in my area, the Washington Post is the local rag, and they usually have like one page in their business section, and it's all about the business of politics, and that doesn't really help me. But the Wall Street Journal online, when you go to their personal finance section, I find their stuff accessible, and once you start learning some of the generic terms, the basic terms, the Motley Fool, there's a book I used to get for kids in my world, who were becoming bar and bat mitzvah, and they were the whole point of the book, it was about having more money than your parents, and it was all about compound interest. Another good one is investor.gov. The government websites aren't always the slickest, but you're going to get, really just the unbiased stuff. They're going to want to share information with you. So investor.gov really delves into how investment advisors work and investment people. And there's a great calculator on there for compounding interest. So seeing how your savings grows over time.
Okay. That is now in the comments too. Awesome. Great question, Hema. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to wrap this up in just a minute because I know we're at time, ladies. I've got an announcement I want to make before we let you go. So just to recap here too, the 5 myths we talked about tonight were the I'm bad at math is not an excuse for being bad at money. It's not real. Being good at planning helps. The myth that women aren't as analytical as men, not true. The myth that there's all these rules of thumbs that we have to follow in order to manage our money, also not true, but with the caveat that there are some formulas that banks and other money people will use to evaluate us. So we need to be aware, but we don't have to live our lives according to that when we have our own personal information. Myth number 4 was it's not too late. So regardless of how old you are, there's no better day than today to start getting focused on how you're managing your money. And myth number 5 is financial managers are not actually just for rich people. We just think that because the word finance is in there and the word finance is scary. So
could I add one more thing to that?
Absolutely.
It used to be that you had to pay really high fees to use a financial planner, and some now charge by the hour. and by the project. And some of them even have like monthly membership fees. So really there could be like a compensation model that works for you, but you don't necessarily have to have like $10,000 to work with a financial planner and do like a full-on financial plan like you had to before. I want to throw that in.
So glad that's changed. All right, so the announcement before I let you guys go for the night is that Rivka and I are doing a masterclass on February 8th at noon, different time than what I normally do, ladies, so pay attention to that, but mark your calendars for February 8th at noon. Mastering your money to create the life you want. So remember what we said, we talk about in this group a lot, being the CEO of your life. And when you're the CEO of your life, you're responsible for all aspects of it, including managing your money. And we're going to start this with debt management basics, basically. Yeah, that. So we're going to talk a little bit about your relationship with money. What is the money mindset? How do we work with that? And then we're going to talk about what is a debt management plan? Right? How do you get started around that? How do you prioritize your bills? What is your credit score? What is that thing all about? And how can you use it? One of the things that I know that we've all been a little bit victim of is this concept that we are working for our money instead of our money working for us. So one of the things we want to get started with is shifting the balance in terms of the money relationship so that money isn't controlling us, but we are managing it. So mastering your money to create the life you want. We're starting with debt management basics, February 8th at noon. If you would like to get the link to sign up for this, to register for this, drop the word money in the comments and I will get you the link as soon as it goes live. In fact, you guys know this, you're part of the group, you get early access, so you'll get the link before it goes live to the rest of the world. But just drop the word money in the comments and I will share that registration with you and we'll get you into this masterclass February 8th, 12 o'clock Eastern time. So bring your lunch. If you're on the West Coast, bring your coffee. But we're going to take a little more time to dive deeper into some of the concepts and ideas that Rivka brought up today. And trust me, it is so well worth your time. We talk a lot about investing in ourselves, investing in our development and our growth and how we move things forward in our career. Well, if we're going to focus on how do we make our career, how do we advance our career? How do we get that next promotion? How do we get that next raise? Then let's also be really smart about what we do with that next raise when we get it. So join us on February 8th. And in the meantime, thank you ladies so much for joining Training Tuesday. As always, my favorite night of the week. It is great to see you here. I will see you next Tuesday and we will see you Wednesday at the masterclass. So don't forget to drop the word money in the comments and we will get you that registration. Have a fabulous night, ladies.
Thank you for having me. Take care. Bye-bye.
Rivka, it's been great having you. Thanks for joining.